Hello beloved twin flames, this is Stephanie Parasha, Divine Light, coming out to you from New Zealand, Aotearoa, and I'm recording this where you may hear some background noise of my fire in the background, and also there's some rain and there's a forecast for some strong wind, so there may be some background noise. So I've been really trying hard to get out a message to you all, an energy update for this Lionsgate 8/8 portal that's been following along behind the eclipse, and there's all the energy readers talking about that, and some of you probably think, what on earth is all this about? Or some of you might know very well what this is, but basically it's from time to time there are kind of like energetic gateway openings, doorways, let's say, that open up in order to propel ourselves forward energetically, and often preceding these gateways there's an opportunity for some kind of release and energetic discharge may occur. So I know that I myself have been, this is why I haven't been able to get a message out to you, because I've been going through my own deep release of energy that's been coming up following that eclipse, just pushed up some really deep anxiety and fears that were coming up within me that I really needed to just give myself time to process and to give myself the energy in which was required to nurture myself and love myself and forgive myself through the very strong energy that was passing through my body and coming out through my emotions, and was not very pleasant, to say the least. But and the reason I'm telling you this is because it's happening to all of us, even those of us that are putting ourselves out there as kind of teachers and way showers and leaders and providing these updates are not immune. We're definitely part of this whole process, and sometimes we feel it deeply so that we can understand how things are for the collective, and also just to not put a separation again, which used to happen in the past, between teachers and students, and that these teachers are these amazing, perfect people that are sitting up there on a podium, all having completed everything and wear these wonderful robes and don't drop a little bit of sweat or anything like that. No, we are all together in this and amongst it. It's just that some of us have chosen to speak about it, and in order to allow people to feel comfort in knowing that you're not alone, to somehow or other, I guess, normalize the feelings that people are going through, as if that it is a common experience for those that have spiritually awoken, twin flames, starseed, light workers. We know within ourselves that we're here to do something, and it's a very, we thought it was going to be great, and we're going to float around in this bubble of bliss and be all spiritual. But what we've found is that this process is very, very painful and very, very deep, and involves a lot of processing difficult emotions, not running away from them, and a lot of self-love, a lot of letting go, and this is really, really hard work, and it can also take its toll on our physical body. So this week, the anxiety that I was experiencing in my solar plexus was actually really painful, and it was very tiring. I was also getting heart palpitations, and I guess an average person would probably go to the doctor. They would say, oh my gosh, what is all this about? Why am I experiencing this? I'm getting massive anxiety. I mean, I'm not saying don't go to the doctor if your body is in that situation, but I knew that this was part of a clearing that was going on in my body, and it is important to nourish ourselves and to support our bodies, especially our central nervous systems, through this purging and cleansing process. So, for myself, I use B vitamins, and there have actually been times in my life that, several times just as a kind of a backup for myself, and I spiritually tuned into this as being something that I actually was told by my spirit guides was important that I use from time to time, and that is to actually use some of the anti-anxiety medication that's available through mainstream medicine, not to become reliant and not to become addicted on these kind of things, obviously, but sometimes our central nervous systems are going through they're under so much stress that it is actually required that there are medicines out there that can calm us down, and it's not about shutting down or suppressing the emotion. It's about still allowing the emotion to come, but to give our central nervous system some support, and to provide us with a little bit of relief from the intensity of what's going through us and what is being purged, because it is very, very, very painful. So I just want to give acknowledgement to that process that may have been going on, and I know it actually has been going on for many of you, because I'm seeing clients, and I'm also even just speaking to everyday people, mums at school or colleagues at work, that are also experiencing very deep triggers that are taking them to their place of their core abandonment wounds that are coming up for healing. So this is going on for a number of people. Now I feel like this push was in order to release as much as we could of the fear that was backed up in our central nervous systems, in our cells, in our body. We are continually releasing fear. That is our job. So wherever, often, we think, we're doing okay in our mind, but the body knows more what it needs to release, and so we'll go into a process of releasing the fear. And so that is that is pretty much what we're going through. We're still going through. However, as this Lion's Gate approaches, it's another opportunity for yet another leap through into our power, because as we release fear, we become more powerful, because it was the fears of, for example, I'll give you an example of a work situation where perhaps somebody, we may have a fear of the imposter syndrome, for example, that people will discover that actually we're not as good as what we're making out to be, that, we're actually really useless underneath, or maybe people have fears of public speaking or going to meetings and having to present their work. Fears of bosses, fears of loss of our jobs, loss of our status, all of these fears that go back to our deep fears of abandonment and shame. And so the more we release these fears and really look at them, and as we release them, it's also, I just want to remind you, it's not just a release that's part of the process. We think, we're just clearing and releasing and clearing and releasing. What we're actually doing is also integrating. So there's another part to this that many people kind of forget a little, and it's also a part that I almost forget myself, even though I talk about it all the time. When you're actually in the process, you sort of can get lost in it and lose our way a little bit on how to integrate our way out of it. So part of my process this week, it was a lot of fear and anger that were coming up for me, and the anger that was being released was kind of a resentment, I guess, around my parenting role of being a single parent on my own, not feeling overwhelmed and frustrated with my current situation. Those kind of feelings, even though I knew on some level that wasn't really real, I knew it was just a part of my fears that were just releasing. And so part of that was nourishing myself, nourishing the voice of fear. So, talking to that voice of fear and saying, I know it's really scary, and I know you're overwhelmed, and I know it feels like too much, and I know that it's really hard when you feel like you don't get support. So it's hearing that voice, acknowledging that voice, and not using a punishing tone towards yourself that, why are you getting so angry? You shouldn't be so angry. That's the critic in a critic. That's not the voice that's going to help us integrate, because again, we're integrating and with the relationships within aspects of ourselves. So rather than banishing them and releasing them and thinking we're getting rid of all this yucky stuff for good, we're integrating that fearful part of ourselves that's been feeling so ashamed and is hiding and feeling so frustrated that it hasn't been able to express itself, that we give it the space to be heard. We give it that voice, we hear it, we acknowledge it, we accept it, we validate its fear and its emotion, and we help it come into a feeling of feeling accepted and feeling loved and forgiven for being that way. Okay, so this is a very important part of a process that I think many perhaps are missing a little, or perhaps forgetting. And so that's why, that part that's feeling so raw and so much in pain and so wounded, yet has nowhere to go, and it sort of keeps turning in on itself because it's feeling so frustrated and going round and round in circles. This is the part that needs your love the most, that needs the wise, loving, higher self aspect that comes in to hold, nurture and support that fearful part into its own feeling of being accepted and loved. Okay, this is the integration point. So I felt it was necessary to talk about that again. I talk about that quite a bit, so I apologise if it sounds a little bit repetitive, but I feel that it is super, super important in our healing process. So yeah, so in terms of that sort of being the energies that have been going on over this last week. So if you've been feeling really struggling and feeling overwhelmed, this is why. You're part of a big group. We're all doing it together, and just please go easy on yourself. Give yourself all of that love, and give that fearful part of yourself particularly the most love that it needs. The frustrated part, the angry part, the overwhelmed part, all of that just needs more of your love. So so moving forward, looking ahead to this Lion's Gate, which is today. I'm recording this on the actual 8th of the 8th, 2018. I feel like I'm being told this is energy is open until the 18th of the 8/18, which is another beautiful repetitive number date, which is also really powerful for twin flames. So as we're facing our fears, as we're integrating our fears, as we're stepping then into more of an integrated, balanced place within ourselves, because now we're trusting ourselves and loving ourselves more. We're there for ourselves, even in our darkest moments. We can move forward into being able to trust more in what's ahead, and be able to open up more as we let go of space that was previously kind of blocking us from achieving and moving into some really good positions. So I see a lot of twin flames, a lot of light workers, a lot of people that have been going through their dark nights of the soul and the darker times over the last few years since 2013. That has been 2012, even if you want to go back a little, that we are now coming into really good positions where you're being now asked to fulfill more roles whereby you're creating the fifth dimension on this earth plane, even if it looks like you're still kind of in what you might term as a 3D job. That doesn't matter, because we're changing it from the inside out. We're changing ourselves from the inside out, so we're also doing that in terms of all the systems that we're operating with. And so there's going to be a lot of change in these coming times as we nurture and love ourselves more. That is going to trickle out into the atmosphere of change to enable people to feel more accepted and loved. Thereby there's going to be an overall sense of well-being that again trickles out and ripples out into the world, where people feel more supported, they feel more looked after, they feel, because they're doing it for themselves, obviously we're becoming strong within ourselves. Those of us that have felt weak and lack for so long, and felt as if no matter what we did, we couldn't get ahead. Now it's our time now, because we are important as part of this bigger mission for the bigger collective, that we start now to come into positions of influence, where we can affect the change in the world that we have started within ourselves, and that's going to now extend out into the world. So you'll start to see yourself in those positions. Now I'm just going to pause for a second. I'm going to actually draw a card for the Lionsgate for Twin Flames. So if you just want to pause for a sec, I'll be right back. Okay, hi, I'm back again, and I have taken a photo of this reading, so you'll see it there. Hopefully it lines up in the video. That what I did was I actually got, as I tuned in, what am I actually tuning in for in regards specifically to Twin Flames, because this is our particular mission relating to the balancing of the energies of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, healing the energies of the wounded feminine and the wounded masculine. That not meaning male and female, although that has been how it has been polarized. That is to do with the split of the, original, the masculine, the feminine. It's that separation that creates the polarization of the male and the female that we see as humans, and we've been programmed to see as two very separate things. However, what I'm talking about, and what many Twin Flames will be doing, is healing their own masculine and feminine energies within, healing the wounded feminine within, the wounded masculine, and again, coming as we heal the wounded aspects of both the masculine and feminine, we come into being able to embody more of a divine feminine, divine masculine, and that is within. However, at the moment, a lot of that energy is playing out definitely still within the genders, because we're still in duality consciousness and the third density where polarization occurs, black and white, so on and so on. So it's interesting, the cards that have come up actually in relation to this. So the wounded feminine, I pulled a card for the wounded feminine first, and what I'm talking about here is I'm not talking about females, I'm talking about the wounded feminine inside both genders. And the card that came out was physical ailment. So what that shows me, I just wanted to talk about a little bit, was that obviously, whatever's showing up in the physical body, if you're not already doing this, get into a habit of looking up what that actually signifies metaphysically, what is the spiritual or emotional cause of your physical pain. Really look into that, because that's a clue to help you uncover what hidden beliefs you may be holding. And I'm just going to give you a really funny example of my friend who sort of was trying to help her mother understand this. And we're talking about the older generation that are really not usually into hearing this information. They prefer to focus really on their physical symptom, and they're not generally wanting to look a little bit deeper. So this friend of mine's mother in particular had a bladder infection, and so she looked up what it meant in this book, and it said that you are always pissed off. And so she told her mother that, and of course her mother said, no, I'm not pissed off, of course. So I just want to kind of it's a funny story, because we really often just see the physical for what it is, but we are all interrelated, as we should hopefully by now know about the connection of the energy body and how illness manifests in the physical body to show us a hidden belief that we may be believing about ourselves and about life. And that's not to punish ourselves further, to say, oh my God, I'm holding this belief where I'm pissed off. Okay, let's just look into that. Okay, how would you heal a belief where you felt pissed off? Okay, so let's say, look, I'm really pissed off about this and that. Okay, you've got a good reason to be pissed off about that. Of course, you would be angry about that. That's understandable that you are angry. And okay, so hearing that anger first and validating it gives people a huge already relief that it's actually understandable that I'm and okay that I'm angry with this. That's already half the healing done. And then the next part is, okay, I need to forgive myself and not further shame myself for being angry, and accept my angry emotions as part of a process of healing and learning about how I can deal with these situations when they come up from now on with a little bit more awareness and self-love, rather than beating myself up, because that internal anger is actually where you've just got two opposing aspects of yourself that you're kind of fighting with. Okay, so it's being able to identify those aspects within the self. Now, the Divine Feminine. So I pulled a card for the Divine Feminine, which I feel is to help heal the wounded feminine. And the beautiful card came up, Unconditional Love. And so the picture in the card is of the love that one has for a newborn baby, because newborn babies, of course, everybody loves them. They're just these new little creatures, and they're so soft and so special. Now, we need to give ourselves the same love that we would give to a newborn baby, and that actually makes me feel deeply emotional feeling that, because that is really where we're at. We're at this new phase where we've been through so much, and we've had to develop all of these survival mechanisms in order to get through life, but actually underneath that we're just this soft little innocent little baby that just needs that same kind of love. But we need to be giving that to ourselves and treating ourselves in that way, as if we are very, very delicate, we're very, very soft, we take it very, very slowly, we don't get angry when we cry, we give ourselves the nourishment when we need it, we give ourselves a lot of cuddles and support, because we're just new. And so we need to see ourselves in that way too, because this is a birthing process. It's a very much a new energy that's coming in that requires us to sort of go right back to the place where we were originally wounded, which was as a growing little child. So we need to, and I feel that is, and again extends out to the work of healing the inner child, which goes along with healing the wounded feminine, because there are, that goes hand in hand. As a girl child growing up, there would have been certain aspects of being within a gender, of being a female child, that would have had certain things that came with being, wounded in a female child. Now, again, as a little boy child, again, there's a lot of wounding within that the masculine growing up, saying you're not allowed to cry, and you got to be tough, and don't be a sissy, and boys don't wear pink, and boys don't wear makeup, and so on and so on. And so that, again, shutting down those parts of ourselves that have, as we've grown up. So it's about healing that inner child and loving yourself in the way that you would love a baby, a newborn baby, whether you're a male or a female, it's the same. Okay, so now we look at the wounded masculine. Now what I see here, the card that came up is separation. Now weirdly, that card is the number 11. And it's interesting relating this to twin flames, because that is the original separation, the masculine and the feminine separated to come onto earth to heal the wound of separation. That's why we're here. And the wound of the separation of the male and the female, when in fact we are actually just one. And I just want to say something beautiful that my twin flame actually said to me last week when we were talking. And he is very particular about the gender roles, and he doesn't like being defined as a male or anything in that. He prefers to he says, I'm just an atom. He calls himself just an atom. And that's one of the things that I really, really love about him, is that he's very, very balanced within his masculine and feminine. Although, as we know, there's always some little bit more healing to be done there. But he has a very strong consciousness around that. And so the separation, I feel, is also related to childhood as well. One of the earliest separations we have is when we separate from our mum, and we have to do it on our own. We get left somewhere behind, and we have that first separation anxiety. When we're left alone, it's that fear of abandonment, the fear of being alone. And funnily enough, this has come up in the masculine. And, the masculine's always the one that's supposed to be strong and the provider, and the one that's supposed to have it all together and support the female, supposedly. And so, where is that? Where is this? This is wounded. This is a wounded part that is very still healing. So again, I feel that goes to the core wound of the original separation from the feminine. and when we separated as twin flames and came to the planet, and then again as a child separating from the mother, and also of course the original separation from Source when we left Source and we came down. So there's a lot of wounding there around those fears of being alone, loneliness, or even being in a relationship and still feeling alone. You know, those kind of feelings that are there. And then when I pulled the card for the healing of that, amazing, these cards. I got the balance, and in that card it's number 4, and this to me looks like it's bringing it into 4 always to me represents bringing spiritual or emotional concepts into form, into reality, into our actual body, and doing the actual work. And I couldn't even imagine a better healing card to heal the wound of separation. And on that picture of you'll see the male and the female, the male holding on to the female as she's kind of dropping there. He's got her, he's holding her. What I feel is that is the divine masculine coming in, because the wounded masculine wasn't supported himself, so how can he continue to support another? Okay, or that masculinity, I'm saying the he, but even within the self, how can a wounded masculine part of ourselves, whether you're a male or a female, come in to support you and provide for you and be there for you when it's wounded? Okay, so this is where we need to create that relationship with our own inner masculine that is willing to be there for us no matter what. It's that connection, that balance again within the self that creates the level of support that's required for this journey. And I get another message that this is kind of around moving out of victimhood, moving out of dependency, moving into being able to really support ourselves, and when we can support ourselves, we obviously also can support others. So this is a huge healing that needs to go on, and I really love these cards today. I felt urged to pull them every now and then. I like to do a little bit of a reading. I know there are a lot of readers out there already, and there's a lot of information, and there's so much to process and to bring in, but you know, I urge you again to trust your discernment and listen only to those messages that make you feel good, that soothe you, that provide you with a feeling of solace and support and love, and you come away feeling better about yourself, and you come away with tools to help you on your journey. You come away feeling that you've got clarity. If you're listening to messages where you're still kind of a little confused, or you're questioning yourself, or you come away feeling more kind of as if you're beating yourself up, or you're not doing it right, or everyone else is doing it better than you, or these kind of things, this is really you know, not going to be helpful to your healing process. I really urge you right now that you're going to need to really care for yourself and do a lot of self-care, and just be so loving to yourself, and support all these parts of yourself that are really needing your attention and love right now, to come into union with the self. And when we hold these energies within ourself, it's all about the energy. So again, when we're holding more of a light, loving feeling within ourselves, that is going to be very attractive to, obviously our beloved is going to feel safe enough to connect in closer to us. And you might, you know, some of you already are doing this, but I see a lot of twin flames coming together with the goal, not of this, you know, getting carried away with this romance, and this part of it being our first part of this journey is to help each other heal our fears. And it's really good if you can get into a conversation with your twin flame on this level, so that you can actually do this work first. This is still really important, and this is about intimacy. This is the kind of intimacy where you can trust each other enough to have these conversations, and to open up each other enough, to be vulnerable enough to talk about these things, and to help each other come into the love through first obviously releasing fear, not this fake kind of love that we made up and we laid on top of things, sort of overlaid it on top, and it's just this superficial mask that we're wearing. This is the deeper, being really honest, really looking at ourselves and being willing to do that with each other. That's intimacy. That's being naked in front of each other on a soul level, not just the physical. Anybody can do that, okay? Only twin flames will be able to get to this level, and this is part of our next stage, okay? So yeah, I'm going to leave it there, otherwise I'll start rambling, but I just want to send you out lots and lots and lots of beautiful love and beautiful light for all of the parts of you. And if anyone feels that they'd like a little bit more support, please get in touch with me and book a session through my website. I'll put the link below. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, bye for now.